Hey YouTube, it's IceFox here. Just gonna do part 3 of the guide to Gustos. In this video, I'm going to be doing more along the lines of matchups for the deck, and I will still be including a deck variant at the end. So I guess we'll start with Inzectors. Inzectors, they still kind of play the same, except now they play more like the Sword OTK. They're a lot more conservative than they were before, and they are a lot slower. But to Gustos, they can do a lot of damage just because a good Inzector player will get their Hornet when they want it, and you have to get rid of it quick. If you can't, then you are really boned, really. Essentially, for Gustos, Inzectors is kind of a 50-50 matchup, I found. It's not a great matchup, it's not a bad matchup, it's just kind of who can sack the best. And anyway, that's for game 1. Game 2, depending on what you side, can really increase your chances of winning. I know with my Gusto deck, I don't have an amazing win-loss against them, but it's not bad either. It's kind of a 60-40 or something like that. But for most Gusto players and most Gusto variants, it's a 50-50 matchup just because game 1, it is very difficult for the Gusto player to get rid of that Hornet or to prevent them from getting it. Game 2 and 3, it really depends on what you side. If you side the Shadow Imprisoning Mirrors, it definitely increases your chances, but the problem with us, well, with Gusto players, is the fact that we cannot effectively side macro, just because we need our graveyard, and yeah, it's really not effective for us to do so. But yeah, game 2, what you would normally do against an Inzector deck, and what I found really increases your chances of winning, is if you're running those 3 sets of Gusto Recruiters to the max. You side out 1 full set, so 1 Guldo, 1 Agull, and 1 Winda, and you side in whatever you can to help you against the matchup. So it's really not that bad, but I found that if you did that, it really increases your chances, just because you really don't want to have to constantly set your Gustos, just because you can't use them because they're just going to get raped by a Hornet, since Inzectors does not run off of like just complete field clearing entirely anymore. But it's really difficult for a Gusto player to decide what to do, I found. Just to move on, Heroes. Heroes are essentially our worst matchup ever. It is a terrible matchup just because we cannot do a whole lot against a hero deck. Heroes have Gemini Sparks, which cause our Guldos to miss timing. They also have the Hero Spark, or Hero Blast, excuse me, and it really screws us over, just because if they're smart, what they'll do is they'll wait till the key moment where you're looking at doing something big, and and then they'll just pop whatever monster they want with it, really. And the crappy part is that if you have a face-up Guldo, Hero Spark, I believe, also makes Guldo miss timing as well, just because it adds to the hand afterwards, I think. No, excuse me, it doesn't. But yeah, it's still our worst matchup. It's kind of one of those decks where it's a 30% chance to win. It's not very easy ever. To move on, we've got 6 Samurais. With 6 Samurais winning the YCS not too long ago, we've been seeing a huge increase in 6 Sam players coming out again. And I just wanted to cover this matchup, as it's really not a bad matchup for us. The Shien, the Beast, and the Barkion, usually you get rid of those upon summoning or something. And it's a good matchup for us just because we use monster effects most of the time. So yeah, it's very easy for us because 6 Sams, they spam, they just go all out turn 1. They cause themselves to lose their hand advantage just to spam completely and lock you down, or try to. So it's good for us just because we can get around the loop constantly. We can live through it and then punish them for doing so. We've also got Heretics. It's not a bad matchup for the TCG right now, just because we do not have that one Constellar Exceed monster. It's that rank 6 one that bounces a monster from, or a card from the field or the graveyard back to the hand. It's a good matchup for us right now, just because Heretics do not have it. I've been testing Gustos on didnt against Heretics, and that one Constellar card has really screwed me up, just because they can go into that last and then just stop you from living, basically, as they can get around your loop with it. But other than that, it's a pretty decent matchup for us. We've also got Dark World here. They don't call this Troll World for nothing, because as always, Drag Down really screws us over, as you always lose the key card, and you never know what you want to keep in your hand and what you want to keep on the field. Just because they can take care of both, really. Grapha is not always a problem for Gustos. It really depends on how well you can sack. If you can have a Guldo face down every time that they use a Grapha to pop your monster, you're set, really. They can't do crap all if you do it that way. It's like Inzectors. It's kind of a 50-50 thing. It really depends on who sacks the most and who sacks better. Just to kind of do this matchup, Gravekeepers, I wanted to include this as Necro Valley just had another Carterata as of Yugi's World. Now, this was a very good matchup for us before Yugi's World. As before Yugi's World, the Carterata for Necro Valley was the part of it that affected the graveyard was basically neither player can activate a card that cards in either player's graveyard cannot be affected by card effects. So it was a really good errata for us because it would allow us to activate Cam, Guldos, basically anything that returned cards back to the deck and activate them, because it let us, we returned them back to the deck due to cost. It was not by card effect, it was by cost. That was the main wording, and I loved that wording because it let us do a whole lot. But the new errata for Necro Valley, and here's a heads up because this is once again screwed us over. Negate any card effect that would move a card in the graveyard other than itself to a different place. So basically, we can still activate Cam and Guldos effects, but we won't get the full effect anymore. We can still return, which is the main reason of what we want, but we can't get the effect anymore. But either way, I think this is still a fairly decent matchup for us. It doesn't really hurt us, and it lets us keep our goals up. It's not too hard to work around. I'm sure we can always figure something out. To go on to the last one, the last matchup I have prepared is Rescue Rabbit. Basically Dino Rabbits. I found that this was actually a very decent matchup for us. It would take a very smart Dino Rabbit player to actually beat you, I found. Because, sorry, I'm kind of losing my voice. It was not a bad matchup just because you could deal with Logias like nothing. Logias were never a problem. Dolka, if you're only dealing with one Dolka, you can get around it, deal with it, and then come back and rape them for it. It would always take a smart Dino Rabbit player who would go into double Dolka and totally screw us over entirely. I've never had a problem getting over one, but the second one really sucks. So it's a fairly decent matchup for us. It's not the easiest, but it's not that hard at all. So basically that's it for the matchups. So what I'm going to be covering today is basically Quasar Gustos. Now, I know you think I'm crazy on this one, but this is actually a very fun variant that I kind of found. It's a lot of fun, just because you basically use the mentality of a smart player against them. Now, a smart player will, if they know you have a Gusto a Gull sitting there, if they know it, what they will do is let you sit on it. They don't want you to activate E-Gull, because then you can go into Cam and just plus, or you can go into Winda and just keep going. But they won't let you sit on anything else more. If you get a Gull out, they'll let you sit on it most of the time. So the mentality of it is that you run quick draws, you run level eaters, and you run Synchron Explorers, just because if you have an Augusto a Gull on the field, and you have these three in hand, or level eater in the graveyard, and these two plus another monster in hand, basically right here, this setup is an instant Quasar, so long as that they don't have Veiler to stop the Synchron Explorer. So it's a lot of fun. Now, the whole Quasar thing is basically, let's just say you're sitting on that Gusto a Gull. Now you would pitch you would pitch Level Eater, the special summon Quick Draw Synchron. You'd Level Eat off of Quick Draw, Sync 5, bring out Junk Warrior. Then you would normal summon Synchron Explorer, special Quick Draw Synchron, and then you would also, at this point, you would also Level Eat off of Quick Draw. You'd then Sync 6 for Drill Warrior, and then you'd sync for Formula, and then to finish it off, you would Level Eat off of Drill Warrior or Junk Warrior, doesn't matter. And at that point, you would go for Quasar. It's really not easy, not hard. It's a great play. It's a great deck. The only reason why I personally don't run is because I love Psy Gustos. So they're so much fun. I will be doing a deck profile here soon of my Gusto deck, and next video I will be including I will be including plays on Psy Gustos. But yeah, the whole deck, all it really is just your standard Gusto, and then you take the quick draw aspect of it. So really, you'd have the whole junk setup. You'd namely have these. And either you'd have Nitro, or you'd have Junk Berserker, or you'll have. You can also include Road Warrior if you wanted to. It's not hard to get out Road Warrior with this deck, just because you're running low levels, so it's not all that hard. But yeah, as I said before, next video I'm going to be including Psy Gustos. So stay tuned. And this is Icefox, and I'm out.